Welcome back to the news today. More than 2,000 events were scheduled today in cities including Sydney, Berlin, London, Sao Paulo, and New York, making it one of the biggest days of climate actions in history. The demonstrations come on the eve of the Paris summit, at which world leaders will attempt to forge a plan to greatly reduce global emissions. I-24 News correspondent Uri Shapira has more.
The heat is on in Paris as COP21, the International Climate Change Conference, begins Sunday. World leaders attended the first day of the summit, which aims at reaching an agreement towards cutting greenhouse gas emissions. According to the organizers, this year the participants in the summit hope to achieve a legally binding and universal agreement on climate with the aim of keeping global warming below 2 degrees Celsius.
I'm sure that we're going to have an agreement in Paris. That doesn't mean that everything has been resolved. There are quite a few issues that are still open and that are currently under negotiation. But I'm sure that we're going to have an agreement in Paris because every single country continues to increase its political will and its political determination.
It was also a good opportunity for protesters around the world, and specifically in France, to show their solidarity with the issue. Thousands of shoes were laid on the Place de la République square in Paris, replacing the protesters who couldn't come following the cancellation of the march amidst security threats. In a different area of the city, demonstrators form a human chain to protest the lack of government action.
We are not happy with our government's stance on renewable energy and our climate. We are here to say we want 100% renewable energy as soon as possible.
In light of new studies which show that 2015 is likely to be the warmest year on record, the issue of climate change seems more crucial and immediate than ever before. Ever since the Kyoto Protocol was signed in 1997, world powers are trying to find common ground towards cutting emissions. In recent months, several plans to reduce gas emissions were presented by the US and the EU. However, as the clock continues to tick, it seems that promises have been left hanging in the air, which unfortunately remains quite polluted.
And with me to understand what will happen behind the scenes, because we already understood what will happen behind the scenes, but what will happen maybe on the stage. Neta Achitov, environment correspondent for Arts Daily newspaper. Good evening.
Good evening.
So first of all, we are seeing that because of the security measures in Paris, some people are being detained or being stopped to actually go and protest in Paris tomorrow. And this is exactly what the people in Paris and the people of France were afraid after the terror attacks.
It wasn't clear if the summit will take place or not, and we are all thankful that it is taking place, and they've done a big effort, so it will. And the climate march, it's a famous thing, last year it was the biggest climate march ever in the world. 80,000 people walked in New York and elsewhere. So the climate march in Paris, which was the most natural place for it to happen, are not happening, and I think people they understand why and they accept it. Also in Israel there was a climate march, by the way, on Friday in Tel Aviv and all over the world, and I think people understand and they are fine with it, and all the leaders are coming and showing also their support for Paris and what happened there, and also for climate change.
What are the chances that something will be achieved because of all the events, or due to all the events that happen in Paris, that the focus won't be shifted from the climate to diplomacy?
So maybe it will be shifted, but it's not bad, because there is a connection between climate change and terror, and we saw it. The biggest example is in Syria. In Syria, there were huge droughts, and people moved from agriculture areas into the cities, and they were poor. They didn't have money. They lost their jobs. All their family foundation erupted and changed, and then started the Arab Spring in Syria, and we know the rest. ISIS arrived and all that. So there is a connection between climate change. Also, the war in Sudan is. Most of the people think that it happened because of drought and weather problems. We are seeing the worst ever decade weather-wise that we have ever seen. People are refugees, not also because of wars, but also because of climate change and all this crazy weather that is going on. So there is a connection between the two, and it's a really good idea to connect them. And this, it's like, I know time is perfect for it.
If we want to mark the problematic countries between the 150 leaders that are coming, who are the
So I think Brazil is the most problematic, and at the last time China and the United States were in India. Now India is actually promoting a really big initiative, solar panel initiative. China and the United States, they had an agreement we talked about last time. So Brazil now, everybody is focused on Brazil because it's a developing country, which a huge economy, and they're not quite abiding by the, diplomacy.
What are the chances that something big will happen after this summit?
Huge chances, really. Everybody is talking about this summit to be the one that it will finally happen, and all the countries in the world will actually do something for climate change.
Yeah, like we were saying, inshallah, here in the Middle East.
Amen.
Amen. Netta Ghitou, thank you very much for this.
Thank you.
And as discussed, security is at the forefront of everyone's mind in France, as some 120,000 officers have been deployed throughout the country. Here's more.
The pressure is on at the Paris police headquarters, one of the key security control sites for the COP21, and where any sign of disturbance will be monitored on these screens.
Staffing in the control room will be reinforced, even though it won't be the only control room monitoring the COP. A remote center will be set up at Le Bourget to manage public order and traffic.
All eyes will be on Le Bourget on Monday, the venue just outside Paris, where nearly 150 heads of states and governments will kick off the climate talks. In the wake of the deadliest attacks the city has ever seen, security has been tightened. UN guards will be stationed inside the venue, backed by 2,800 security forces around the site. Another 6,000 officers will also be on Paris' streets the first couple of days, in addition to multiple road closures and border checks already in place. It's likely to be a commuter's nightmare, prompting the mayor of Bourget to give residents one piece of advice.
Sometimes when transport workers are on strike, people have to take the day off. I think that for those who can, taking Monday off would be the best solution.
Security may be on organizers' minds, but not everyone feels so concerned.
I'm more worried about the inconveniences when going to work. Besides that, I have zero concerns about the COP21.
They always target smaller areas. If they had wanted to attack a head of state, I think they would have done so already. So I don't see why we should be scared.
With the country on high alert, the government has also banned major demonstrations. But with some 40,000 visitors expected to attend, some fear security concerns will overshadow the crucial summit and the groundbreaking deal it could yield.